professional with a true passion for technology implementation, as well as applications design, development, and IT operations. Presently, David is an information technology services, training, and management consultant with his own company that is called Princeton Technology Advisors. David is an active leader in the job seeker support community. He is the current executive chair of the professional service group of Mercer County in Princeton. In addition, David is a co-facilitator for New Jersey job seekers in Princeton, New Jersey. He is on the board of the Career Support Group at St. Gregory, the Great in Hamilton, New Jersey, and the Breakfast Club of New Jersey in East Brunswick. Additionally, David is often requested to present topical programs and IT training classes to business groups, adult schools, job seeker support groups, and public library. And we would not have our YouTube if it weren't for David Chuckman. So thank you very much, David. He helped us get that together so you can all see any of our programs. And with that, I introduce you. Take it away, David.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It is a very good pleasure to be back here. And let me just get my screen going. So are you indeed seeing the full screen, communicate your professional skills?
Yes, we see it.
Very good. Okay. Well, good. Thank you, Meryl and Sharon. It's a privilege to be back. It's good fun to be back. I was happy to help you, of course, the while back with getting your YouTube up. I think groups like ours really had to pivot quite quickly to be able to serve the groups that we are able to, and it's a real tribute to what you're doing. So yeah, congratulations on that. And so, but I wanted to talk today a little bit about communicating your professional skills. And we all have professional skills, and it becomes important that we communicate them properly to help really promote our future value based on your skills and accomplishments. And just a couple of ground rules. We will be using chat for questions and answers. So at any time during the program that you have a question, just put that in chat, type the word question, and then enter your question. That way, Sharon and Meryl, who'll be monitoring, will see that you have a question and not just communicating other information through chat. It'll just help stand out a little bit. I do have two intermission points, break points during the program. So it's at that time that we'll actually stop and answer most of the questions, and then we'll also have time at the end. And then I think also at the second intermission point, so about 2/3 of the way in, Meryl just may have a quick announcement as well. So we'll just plan for that. So, you know, I got into this thinking about doing this program because so often I've heard about this question, tell me about yourself. And certainly when I was interviewing for positions, I would get this question. I'm sure you have as well. And also listening to how people present themselves in introductions and elevator pitches. Now, I don't remember anybody's specific, well, I remember Pat Monahan's specific elevator pitch. It's a fun one, but I typically don't remember most of them. And the reason why is, to me, they all sound like this. I have a gazillion years of professional experience with every legacy tools such that I'm absolutely qualified in every skill that your company is moving away from. Working for you, I will share my vast array of outdated knowledge to help you grow your organization. And I have to say, just about everybody I hear gives some sort of introduction or elevator pitch or answer this question, talks in terms of what you used to do and what you've had in the past, and not so much thinking about the skills that you have to use going forward. And so if you say to yourself, this is not my elevator pitch, well, I'll take you at your word, but most of you, this is your elevator pitch, some form of this. You're talking only about what you used to do with the hope and expectation that your next hiring manager really understands what you're trying to convey. And I can tell you, I was a hiring manager for a number of years, and I didn't want to have to think that hard. I didn't have to figure out if the person could do the job based on what they used to do. They had old skills. So we have to think about assessing ourselves, assessing our skills, making sure we understand the skills that truly we have for today's job market. And then in a little while, we'll talk about ways that we could identify those well and promote them as well. And as job seekers, we tend to look backwards. We've had a career, it's been successful, but we don't discuss or assert the needed skills that we'll bring to our next employer. We discuss our own history. And a lot of times, hiring managers don't want to hear that. Your resume was the reason why you got into the discussion, why you got into the interview. Your resume talked a little bit about your history, but you really need to think more forward thinking. And we have a hard time doing that. We have a hard time looking at ourselves in the mirror and scrutinizing ourselves. It's just human nature, just the way we are. But if we don't know what to look for, we really can't know how to stand out from the other candidates. If we're only showing off our old skills, if other candidates are showing what's really relevant right now for the hiring manager, we're not going to compete well with those other candidates. And so if you don't promote your skills, the ones that are really valuable to your next employer, you can undercut your actual value. And what that means, certainly you'll get a lower paying job if you land one at all. And it could be a less gratifying job because you're doing it just to get the income and not because it's something that you really want to participate in your career going forward. So you really want to pay attention to assessing your skills. Now, we've heard that expression, if you find a job that you enjoy doing, you will never have to work a day in your life. And a lot of people have said that, and I've heard it's attributed to Mark Twain. And this is terrific. If you can find something that you really enjoy doing, you really won't be working a day in your life. But my suggestion is don't limit yourself to only finding the next job in the thing that you truly love to do. If you're looking for a career that will really matter, don't just think about the things that you love or come naturally. Consider other things, things that you return to time and time again because you're good at it. So that may be an opportunity to get a fulfilling job as well. Find a job that has activities that challenge you, that really attract you to challenge, or maybe even frustrate you until you get through the challenge, because these can actually be very stimulating type of positions. And you'll never be bored. You'll always be learning something new. You'll always be fulfilled if you're doing something a bit more challenging. So as much as, there's that common wisdom of finding something that you really enjoy, find something that you like to do that's really just challenging. Keep your mind open to other opportunities as well. One place to begin to look for your skills, reflect on your job description. And when I mean your job description, your current job or your most recent position. So take a look at what that job description is. And if you don't have one from your last employer, write one about yourself, not a resume, not a branding statement. If you are hiring someone to fill that job description, it'll have the skills and that are necessary for the position. You'll find it easiest to find those hard skills, and we're going to talk more about hard skills and soft skills in just a few minutes. But these are skills that are directly tied to your work experience. That's what hard skills are. And you'll also recall degrees and certifications that you've earned along your career and are typically necessary for a type of position that you're seeking. And start writing them down. Start writing down your hard skills and list them as SARS. We'll talk about that in a moment. SARS is a narrative, a story, and the acronym is Situation, Action, Result. Some people have heard of this called CARS with a C, Challenge, Action, Result. Others may be PARS, Problem, Action, Result. Acronym aside, it's really the same thing. So instead of telling a hiring manager that you're proficient at a task, the idea is you can discuss how you've mastered it. And that's what becomes of more interest. And how you're mastering it is using those soft skills. So start thinking in terms of SARS for promoting skills. Again, situation, action, result. So it's a technique essentially that expresses all the relevant information about using the skills in your job and a resulting accomplishment. And that becomes important. And by the way, these SARS can be used on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and also to answer any question that you have in an interview. And here it is, situation. It's kind of setting the scene. What's happening, what's about to happen, what was the need that you were looking to accomplish and why. And then the action is explain what you did. What did you do to solve the problem, to address the situation? And what was the outcome? What was the end result? So as an example, I'm proficient in expediting the month-end close process. That could be very true. If that's what you did, if you worked in an accounting or financial services department, you may have been very proficient in closing out the month end, closing the books. And a lot of people might put something like this on a resume or might talk about this. And there's nothing wrong. It's not a lie. It's the truth. But it's not really in the format of a SAR, of a situation, an action, and a result. So in contrast, you might write something like this. Here's the situation. Challenged with a long month-end closing process. And there's the situation. You have a long month-end closing process. That's what the company had. What was the action that you took? I reorganized my team's end-of-month work time into 2 shifts, right? So what you're talking about is there was maybe a day shift, and you created 2 shifts, so an afternoon and a morning shift, whatever it was. Doing so put more staff hours into this process, reducing the organization's end-of-month close time by 2 days. And so there's a SAR. There's a way of promoting this skill that you have. And this is much more effective in this story than just saying, I'm proficient, because you've expressed how you've accomplished it. And the how is also very important, soft skills. And we're going to differentiate hard skills and soft skills in just a moment. Okay, so there is our first intermission. And if there's any questions in right now, have at it. So either Sharon or I'll scroll quickly through, or type your questions in now. Anyone?
I was going to say, I don't see any particular questions right now, but if anyone has a question and they want to unmute themselves for a second or type it in. Anybody?
I think Meryl is right. She's got to record the Jeopardy music, or maybe syncopated clock.
There was a question. What are the most important technology skills to have? Elaine asks.
So you've asked a question that doesn't have a single answer, in my opinion, because I don't know what type of job you're seeking. So we're going to talk more about this, but what you need to do is begin to look at your job description of yourself. That will tell you the skills that you have, and we're going to dive more into that. But there are other places that you can look as what companies are promoting in their job specs when they're advertising positions. So I can't tell you what the most important position is. If I told you the most important position right now is JavaScript and you're in help desk, it's not applicable to you.
Chuck, I just got a real quick question.
Yep. Question? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi, David. It's Steve Archer. Hopefully, this is a quick question for you, but do you have any tools or tips on developing your SARs? Because again, it's something about talking about yourself and your skills. So sometimes it's easier for you to point out somebody else's SAR than it is your own.
A lot of background noise coming, so it sounds, I'm not sure I heard everything, but it sounds like, is there a tool to find your skills? And we're going to touch on that a little bit, but yeah, there are self-assessment tools that are out there, like DISC and others. And the DISC really is more personality. So we'll talk more on those in just a few minutes. Myers-Briggs might be one. You might want to talk to a career coach or a life coach to help you through that as well.
David, I have a question.
Okay.
The SAR story is really good to get attention. But what's your suggestion in the resume? If we write, then the SARs in the resume would make it too long. And but if we use traditional way in the resume, may not get enough attention and being screened out.
I don't subscribe to the view that a resume is too long. My opinion is your resume needs to be long enough to get your message across. And so if your resume is 2 pages, but you write SARs and it becomes 3 pages, I don't see that as a problem. If you're concerned about that, maybe some old experience you can trim. but I don't think there's a right size for a resume. So I don't really subscribe to that.
So you suggest use the SARS story in the resume too.
Yeah, so you're kind of describing you're in a challenge. I want to write a SARS, but I don't want my resume to be long. And I don't want my resume to be long, but I'm not telling enough information. So,
Right.
it's not a catch-22 in my mind. In my mind, it's if your resume can be made longer, it doesn't really matter. And here's another reason why. The first person to read your resume is not a person, especially when you apply blindly. If you upload to a system, the computer doesn't care if you have a 2-page or a 3-page or a 4-page resume. If you put the SARS story, you may have the opportunity to put more keywords, and the computer will see the resume as more relevant. It has that possibility. Now, there's a lot more into the applicant tracking system than just the length of the resume and keywords, but just giving you an example. And now when someone has your resume, they're going to want to read it. They're going to want to see why they should consider interviewing you. So don't be concerned about a resume becoming a little too long. The only exception might be is if you turned it from a 2-page to a 20-page resume. That's probably a little too long.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, we have another question. What's a good way to map back from the job description to the stories you want to convey? Any tips how to ID keywords? Did we ask you that already?
You didn't ask, but what's the best way to map back stories? Can you just read it again?
Yeah. This is from Josh, if Josh wants to jump in. What's a good way to map back from the job description to the stories you want to convey? Josh, do you want to explain?
Yeah, so the job description, I'm not sure that you map back from the job description to the stories. The job description is a guide, so it's a way moving forward. When you read the job description, what you should be doing, all of us should be doing, is creating a resume that answers the bullet points, the requirements in the job description. In other words, you should not have one resume that you send to everybody. You should have one resume that you send individually to each job. If you apply to 10 jobs, you have 10 versions of the resume. And so use the job description as a guide to which bullet points, which size stories you're going to want to convey. Because if you have a standard resume, or if you're not paying attention to the job description as a guide moving forward, not mapping back, you're going to be providing a lot of information in your resume that may not be applicable to the job description, or it may not be clear that it's applicable in the job description, and the hiring manager will just pass you over. So my observation based on your question is it's a way for moving forward, not a way back. And think about your experience. What did I do to satisfy this bullet point in the job description?
Okay, there's another question here. How many SARs would you include? This is from Jocelyn. How many SARs would you include in a resume, a cover letter, an interview? Would you limit one SAR to each skill you're describing, or would you give several examples?
So I would not give multiple examples for the same skill. What I would do is, and the reason why is, a typical job description is going to have a number of requirements, and your resume or your LinkedIn profile needs to be able to demonstrate the skills that you have that are applicable to the job description. Now, once you've convinced the reader, the hiring manager, that to hire you, you can, in an interview, talk about a second story. But I would not put multiple, unless, I guess the exception might be, the whole job is one thing. And I guess it could be that. You can show examples of doing that. But I think you want to be able to address as many of the relevant bullet points as possible, and you may tell one SAR story for each of those bullet points.
Great. Okay, we have another question from Mitch. How realistic is it to have an individual resume for every application? Given the competition, it would be that much more defeating after every rejection. What are your thoughts and words of encouragement on this?
Your words of encouragement, you're a good guy, Mitch. But how realistic to have an individual resume for every application? I can round it off to you to give you an approximate number, 100%. You are applying to each job individually. You're applying to each job based on the job description, and it's written by a different person at a different company or different department. And so it is 100% possible to create a slightly different version of your resume with different bullet points or different SARs to address that particular job. Now, it's a little harder on a LinkedIn profile, because a LinkedIn profile, not that it's static, but you're not addressing it to one particular job at a time. So you have to meld a little bit. I think the easiest technique for doing that, though, to get to that 100%, and maybe this is also helps, I think it was Mandy a little bit earlier with the long resume. Create a resume called a master resume. This is a resume that you will use, but you will never, ever send to anybody. It basically will have every bullet point, every SAR, every accomplishment, every skill at every job you've had throughout your career. You don't care how long, 5 pages, 6 pages, it doesn't matter. Now that it's fully written, when you get that individual job description and you have an application, you can create a targeted resume from the bullet points related to this job that are already in the master resume. So really what you're doing is you're either trimming or copying and pasting to create the new resume, and then submit that.
Thank you. Pat, did you have a question?
Oh, excuse me. Yes. David, what's your view of including a cover letter with the resume, and in terms of answering the questions we've just been discussing, putting the cover letter in that T kind of format?
So I'm of the opinion that every job application should include a cover letter. Now, there are a lot of recruiters that will tell you they never read the cover letter, and when they say that, I believe them. But on the other hand, there are a lot of recruiters that do read the cover letter. So if you have the opportunity in an applicant tracking system to attach multiple documents, upload a resume, upload a cover letter, whatever they're asking, my opinion is to use that. Now and if you're mailing or emailing to somebody directly, also include the cover letter, 2 separate documents. There are some applicant tracking systems or some of the job boards like Monster or Career Builder, I don't remember specifically which ones, that only allow you to upload a single document. In that case, I'm also a fan of using the cover letter, but I would do it this way. I would create one document where the first few pages are the resume and the last page or pages are the cover letter. I put the resume up top and the cover letter at the bottom. And the reason why is, one is if their system is scanning for keywords, so they get all the keywords from the cover letter as well. But if they only open the document and they see the first page and they're expecting a resume and they see a cover letter, they may say, this person didn't listen to me, and close the document. So at least they'll open it, see the first page of the resume and scroll down. And if they do scroll far enough, they'll still see the cover letter. The T format is actually a very interesting format. It's one of those, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old, and I'm a big fan of that from the movie Philadelphia. And if you haven't seen it, it's based on the accountant's T in a ledger, where they make a T, and I think it's debits on the left and credits on the right, or maybe it depends on if it's a debit account or credit account. And on the left side, you might put 2 or 3 of the bullet points that are in the cover letter, in the job description. And it might say requires a 4-year degree. On the right side, there's a line in the middle. On the right side, you write, I have a 4-year degree from Hofstra University, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. And so the left side has what the bullet point is, and the right side answers that bullet point. So someone who's scanning quickly the cover letter can see right away how you meet their requirements. So I like that format.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And,
I don't think there are any other questions in the chat box. Anybody else have a question they want to jump in on?
Oh, I'm so glad, Leori. I was so proficient. I answered your question as I was speaking. So
Right.
nice to see you.
Okay,
Leori.
looks like we're good to go right now, David.
Okay, so our intermission is over. Hopefully you've come back from the bagel and coffee and we can move ourselves forward. Some of you may remember the old days when theaters had intermissions. Well, I guess Broadway shows and such do, and the curtains reopen. So let's talk a little bit about hard skills and soft skills, because these are some of the things that you're going to want to talk about in terms of promoting yourself. And while hard skills are important for the job, we're going to actually spend a little extra time on soft skills as well. So what are hard skills? Hard skills are really those technical skills, those things you were absolutely trained on, the tools that you need to do your job. And it's really based on your professional experience, your education. And we'll provide lists and examples of these hard skills and soft skills in a second. So these are your technical knowledge and your training, the things that you've really done all through your career. So as an example, maybe you've worked in retail, and so you know how to use or design or build a point of sale system. And so that would be your hard skill. Or maybe you've worked as an accountant and you're very proficient in Excel. So using Excel might be a hard skill. Or you've studied a foreign language and you're able to speak it fluently, and that is a hard skill. So these are some examples of types of skills, and you can think about your own career and your own experience, and you probably identify what some of those are for you as well. And then we have also what we call soft skills, and these tend to be the non-technical skills. These aren't the skills necessary that you learned or the tools that you use, but they really talk about how do you do your work. So it's more of the how to, not what you use. So these are not usually taught in a classroom. They're not really measured on paper. If you're lucky in your performance review, someone will comment on it, but not really hard measured. Excuse me. It also makes you more successful in the workplace. By utilizing and developing soft skills, you really become much more efficient and effective in the workplace. And so some of the things is how have you proved yourself to be a team player? How have you resolved conflict with coworkers? Or maybe you've adapted to unexpected challenges. So these might be ways you've applied or utilized soft skills. So as you build and develop your profile, the skills that you want to promote, I would say actually focus heavily on your soft skills. Don't ignore your hard skills, but focus on promoting your soft skills. So the problem with looking only at your hard skills, over time, hard skills may be outdated. You may have been with a company for a number of years and worked with some of the tools there, but your company didn't keep up with the marketplace. So therefore, you are experienced in the tools that the companies moving forward are moving away from, like that elevator pitch in the beginning. So examples could also be teamwork. How are you working on a team? Most cases, when you're hired to work for someone, you have other people that you have to work with either in your department, or maybe you work with other departments. So teamwork becomes important. Your presentation skills, your communication skills. How well are you able to communicate with others? Sometimes you have to discuss problems or progress or projects you're working on. And sometimes you have to learn that information from others. So are you a good communicator? Time management. How well do you manage your workday? Or if you're a supervisor, you may be the work of others. So it becomes a very important skill that you may want to talk about. Data analysis. You want to be able to talk about your way of producing reports, of analyzing data. Not just you're good at it, but you want to talk about the way that you've done it. Besides just mathematical formulas. So that becomes important as well. And personal development. So are you finding ways to improve yourself? How are you developing and learning new skills? I don't know that this person has a very useful skill, but that's certainly, I guess, a hard skill worthy of learning. And soft skills are often more easily your transferable skills, the skills that you could take from one job to another. So when you think about transferable skills, these are the skills that can be transferred from one job to another. Things that you've done in the past, maybe fairly recently, and these are things you're going to take going forward. The hard skills, maybe. A lot of times employers hire people, contracting is a little different, but hire employees based on the way they work, and they're willing to teach some of the hard skills that they need to do the job. So soft skills become very important. So sometimes they're called portable skills as well. Just put that because I've heard that term a number of times. And so these are the skills that position your future value based on your prior experiences. And you can use it lots of ways. You can use it when you are applying for any new job. Maybe if you're looking to transfer jobs in a different industry. So not just looking for a new job in the same type of industry or role, but in a different industry. Or maybe you're looking to change roles. So as you change industries, as you change roles, there could be different hard skills, but the soft skills become very transferable. Or certainly anytime the hard skills are becoming outdated. So as you've left the other company with the old tools that you use, you're moving into hopefully the new company with the new skills and the new tools, you'll use your transferable skills to sell yourself into that new position. I put this slide up of common hard and soft skills. This is not the be-all, end-all list. This is just examples. So do with this as you may. But when I've done this presentation in the past, people have asked me to give examples of hard skills, give examples of soft skills. So I decided just to put a slide. Now, of course, you could take a screenshot of this if you want, but by the end of the program, we'll show you how to download this whole slide deck. So you get this table as well as all the other information from the slide deck. And that gets us to our second intermission. So Meryl or Sharon, I know you have an announcement to make. Maybe
Well, it's still a little bit early for that, so we can open it up to more questions if people have questions for David. There aren't any in the chat that I've seen unless I missed them.
Well, remember, we're about 2/3 of the way through, so if it's not too early or is, just give you the opportunity. But yeah, any other questions about hard or soft skills so far?
Someone, I heard a voice.
It's Anna. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Anna O'Connor. I just saw delegation on your list of soft skills, and that's one that I've been weighing a lot because I'm afraid that people are going to think that means that, forgive my corniness, but that I'm going to delegate everything out and not work. But I do think it's a real skill, and it's a really important skill. But how do you put that on a resume without making it sound like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Are you the person with your feet up on the desk while everyone else is doing work?
Exactly. I'm an expert delegator, and I am, but that means something very specific. It means knowing the right person for the right task.
Right, but it also needs to be in the context of the role you are seeking. If you're a clerk, or someone who's not a manager, you may not want to show that you're delegating a lot of work. Now, it all in the context of the role you're doing. Of course, if you are a manager with people, you should be delegating work. You should not be doing all the hands-on work because that's what you have your staff for. You're doing the managing and the other requirements of that role. So I think it's really in the context of what you're doing. And you could also, as you put that in your on your resume, as you just do it in an elevator pitch or an introduction to answer the question, tell me about yourself, you put it in a SAR story so that people understand the context of delegation. So if you say, hello, my name is Anna and I delegate work so I can keep the bottom of my shoes clean, that's not really something that sells as much as I have a team of 4 people and we have a lot of work and I've helped manage their workload through proper delegation, that kind of thing.
Right, I have bound feet, no. But yeah, I guess I always have some idea of, a very young HR worker, who is just not familiar with being a manager themselves and reading it and having the wrong idea. But. Right.
So, I agree. I think a lot of generalists, not all of them, but people in HR start as generalists. They might be doing the initial recruiting. They may not know the context of every position that they're hiring and recruiting for. So that's why a SAR is much more effective than just a bullet point. If you say I'm a good delegator, that may not help. But if you talk in the context of managing workloads through proper delegation, that story begins to make a whole lot more sense.
Yes, Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome. Yeah, but I agree. Biff and Skippy, the young HR people, you do have a harder time working with them. You always do much better with more seasoned people, but you get who you get, and you have to learn to work with them.
I'm sure they're lovely people. I just
Oh,
don't
they
know
are.
if
Yep,
they.
yep. Okay, let's see. Any other, let's see, being able to delegate. So there's some comments on delegation, so that's nice.
We have another question. Is there a way to put verbal and written communication skills on the resume without looking like you're just putting it there to push your resume through the ATS?
So again, the question is context, but yes, again, demonstrate how you're using your written skills. So whether it is a monthly report that you have to put together for management, the way you communicate status to your supervisors, the way you delegate to other people when you're writing or speaking to them. If you write communication skills, that might get you through the ATS. But if you tell that SAR, that may get you interest and generate interest to the hiring manager, assuming it does get through the ATS. And by the way, if you don't know what ATS means, some of you, it's applicant tracking system. Applicant tracking system. It's applicant tracking system. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned, it is not uncommon, especially when you're applying online. The first person to see your resume is a computer. Which, by the way, is a whole nother topic, why you'd want to not use the applicant tracking system. You'd want to meet the people, contact the people directly.
David, I have one just other quick question.
Yeah, sure, Pat.
Do you think it would be a good idea as you move along to stick or to answer the question, tell me about yourself with a quick SARS or a quick tagline kind of thing?
Yeah, it seems very interesting and very reasonable to do that. Tell me about yourself is not meant for you to tell somebody your whole life or professional story. It really needs to be tailored for the job that you're applying to. And so that's really what you want to talk to. So make sure at the very least you understand the job description if you have nothing else. But as you do your research, you'll learn about the role, the company, a little bit about the organization. Hopefully you can find someone on LinkedIn to talk to, get some more information. But it really still needs to be a fairly short and succinct answer to a question that really implies a long answer. And a good person to talk to about this, if you can, Alex Freund, career coach Alex Freund, actually does a whole presentation on Tell Me About Yourself. So if you can find that, please go listen to it.
There's a question from Ling. Given that many industries are now remote or hybrid remote, are there specific soft skills that you think are important to highlight or develop?
So yes, and it needs to be, you have to think about the challenges that you have working remotely compared to working with people in person, and then build a story around it. So specifically, it's a little hard to get to specific skills, but you really need to tell a story of how you've managed the efficiencies of your work. For instance, I've utilized email in a way of communication in the following manner. We now hold our virtual meeting, our in-person meetings, staff meetings virtually in person. I'm sorry, that's a contradiction. Virtually using an online platform, and we have a set protocol that we all follow, something like that. So tell a little bit of a story around it. Companies have shifted and are beginning to accept virtual and remote workers. A lot of them didn't want to. But they have because they had to. COVID shut down in-office work in a lot of areas, and companies have figured out how to make it work, and you need to demonstrate how you've utilized that as well.
I have a quick question related to the summary on a resume. So what's your view about the most effective way to use the summary on a resume, since you usually put kind of your skills both technical as well as soft skills, but not necessarily star stories, and kind of the same with the LinkedIn about section. So what's your kind of advice for how to use those sections effectively?
So don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about that. I want to have a position where I can help a company grow and I can be effective and I can be a good worker. Don't talk about yourself. As a hiring manager, and when I was a hiring manager, I didn't really care what the other person wanted. I didn't care a whole lot. I was glad that someone had ambition. But when you're talking to a hiring manager, they're hiring for a position because they have a need. They may even have a problem. And so you need to express yourself as someone that will make the hiring manager's job easier, that you will solve the problem that the hiring manager has. So you need to understand what's in the job description and talk about what you will bring, not what you've accomplished. Now, there's sometimes you can use an accomplishment as, you need this and I've done it before, that kind of thing, but don't talk a lot about history. Talk about the skills you're going to bring to them. They could be hard skills, they could be soft skills, but really decide to make the hiring manager happy to want to interview you. Yeah, it's no longer used as an objective.
Yes, no, I definitely got that. No,
Yeah.
so it's all about what you could do for them, not what you're looking for in a job.
It's a selfish process, and a selfish process by them, because, and my experience was, I hated interviewing. I knew I needed to hire someone, whether someone left or the department was growing. I was too busy doing work in order to interview, but I knew I had to interview, so I'd be less busy, kind of thing. So make my job as easy as possible. Show me why I should hire you.
Thank you.
That's my opinion. Yep.
Anybody else have a question before David goes on to the end of his presentation? There'll be more time after the end, but just wondering.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, this is Ian. I have a question.
Yep. Hi.
Hi, David. And thank you, Meryl and team, for doing this. The question is this: is there a preferred or generally accepted resume format for a middle upper executive? I've seen some that leads with the hard skills and then followed by the academic credentials and followed by the work histories. I also have seen some which leads with the summary and then the hard skills and then the work history. So
generally,
which one you use?
Yeah, generally, and I'm not a resume coach, and I can introduce you to some, and Meryl and Sharon can as well. The higher up the ladder you go, the lower on the resume your hard skills can go. If you're a manager and you're managing teams and operations and or budgets or that, then the fact that you know a programming language or you know how to use Excel may be less important. You know, we read resumes from top down, and if you don't grab the reader right away, they may not get to the interesting stuff that you want to talk about. When you're a mid-level person or an entry level, where you have hard skills like a programming language or budget process or things that are really day-to-day, you can list that in a skill section. My opinion is you would want that near the top. As for the experience section, I'm of the opinion that it should be in reverse chronological order. It should be a chronological resume. It should not be the kind where you only show the skills that are important for the job, even if they're out of chronological sequence. The reason most people it makes sense to read, what did you do last, what did you do before that? But the SARs, the stars, the cars, whatever you call them, those bullet points and stories that you're going to tell need to be relevant to the position. And but I would keep the companies in reverse chronological format. So that's my opinion. For more sage advice, you would want to speak to a resume professional.
Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, the PSG of Mercer County, I believe next week, we have Deborah Wheatman, who will be talking about writing a great resume. And so please feel free to join PSG of Mercer County. Completely free. Don't sign up in advance. Just come. psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. Go to the event calendar. You get all the information. Yep, good question.
Meryl, can I get a quick question in before David moves to the next?
Sure. Go ahead, Vicki.
First off, thank you both. This is really insightful and amazing. So I love what you talked about relative to hard skills and soft skills. If you're looking to pivot careers, you're obviously going to lean more heavily on the soft skills side, but I'm finding it's difficult to get a prospective employer to take you seriously if you didn't come up through that functional area. So how do you help them see that you could be a good candidate relying on those soft skills?
There are certainly certain industries that prefer to hire within the industry, or there are companies that have a reputation for, hiring young people, train them, and move them the way up. And so when you see a great position outside of your industry and it's posted on a job board or such, you will have a hard time getting attention when you don't have any experience in that industry, because it's the way most hiring managers think. So applying through an applicant tracking system and applying through a job boards, in my opinion, your odds are very low. So low, I would never take those odds to Atlantic City. The flip side is, what I would do is I would start to reach out to people and have discussions or informational interviews. Find somebody in the industry that you may want to talk to, or someone at the company you may want to talk to, and put your resume away. Put it in a box. Don't take it out, because the point of your discussion is you want information to help you navigate a new career in a new industry. Don't talk about a position, even if they posted one. Don't talk about a position, even if it's in that person's department. And you just want to talk about learning about the industry. Get them interested in you, because now they know you, they'll get to know you personally. And it won't all happen in one, it may not happen likely in one phone conversation or one coffee meeting. But you will begin to make a personal impression on them that a resume and a LinkedIn profile never could. Later, when there is a position, you may be able to leverage this relationship that you have with this person. And you could say, hey, I see there's a position. I know I haven't been in the industry, but we talked about the skills that I have. Can we talk about if I may be a fit? And now you can bypass the computer system. You can bypass the job board and talk to someone directly when a position becomes available. Now, I'm kind of fast tracking how you do that, but I wanted to give you more of the framework. After you meet the person the first time, maybe send them a thank you email. Maybe send that person an email every once in a while of something that may be of interest to them. Kind of keep the friendship and professional friendship and relationship growing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
I think
I think we're good to move on, and we will have time a little bit later as well. So we'll close the chat.
I think you're ready to move on.
Okay, well, I'm ready. Ready or not, I'm ready. So another place to start looking at some of your hard and soft skills, look at your performance reviews. And I used to keep my performance reviews. I used to use it as a point of information, a point of learning. Sometimes it was a point of reminding my boss, hey, you said this nice thing about me. There was one boss, I had to keep telling him how good I was because he told me I was. But it is a place for you to find what your manager and your supervisor is saying about you, how you do your work. So it tends to be very reasonable and realistic information for you, reliable information for you. So look at your performance reviews. It's how your managers have appraised your prior performance. So it is a good indication of your skills, your hard skills and your soft skills, and the ones that you're going to want to promote in your next position. And also they may assess weaknesses or areas where you need improvement. So think of those as well. You want to make sure you understand a weakness, because also if someone is going to interview you and ask you, tell me about one of your weaknesses, and you could talk about something that's documented, and also hopefully how you've taken steps to turn them into a strength. So think about the improvements that you've made over time, why you made those improvements, based on the weaknesses or things you need to improve, how you've grown professionally, and as you can, list them as a SAR as well. Also, ask other people for feedback. And there's some people that are very good that can give you feedback, and there's some people that you can't really use their feedback as reliably. It's very impressive to have the endorsement of others. If someone else could endorse your skills, you could say, well, I'm great at Excel, that's fine. But if somebody else says David's great at Excel, that's more reliable, because you tend to believe when someone is not talking about themselves more than when someone talks about themselves. So who are people that can give you honest and reliable feedback? Clients and staff from other departments. In other words, people who you've interacted with in the past. So you can reach out to some of them. Your prior managers, if you're not working, or current managers, talk to your managers. And coworkers. What was I like to work with? What was I like to be managed? What did I do well? What was a strength that I have? And when you talk to these people, let them know you're helping to improve yourself for your next position. There are great sources of encouragement, but poor sources of feedback. And those are the people that are closest to you, your closest friends and your family members. They love you dearly. They want you to be successful. They care about you more than just about anybody else in the world. And you're perfect the way you are. And that's not helpful information. It's good that they're motivating you, but they may not be able to give you the most reliable information. One story I like to tell about this is when I lost my job for the first time in early 2012. Among the people I called to let know I was let go was my mother. I speak to my mother a couple of times a week. Sometimes she'd call me in the office for brief conversations, so I had to let her know. And so the problem of my mother is she's a social worker. If any of you have mothers that are thinking of becoming social workers, for your benefit, talk them out of it. So every once in a while, I have to tell my mother not to social work me. But she had a great idea, she thought. She said, I know exactly what you should be doing. Now, I was an IT manager for about 14 years and a programmer for about 15 or 16 years before that. She had a great idea. She said, you love to travel. You should be an air traffic controller. She said, you would love this. You'll be near the airport. It'll be everything that you love. And there was nothing at all I wanted to do. I said, I don't want to start my new career in the most stressful job on the planet. And I had to convince her that I couldn't do this. So she wanted the best for me. She thought of me. She thought of things that I enjoyed, and I may enjoy this as a career. So good source of encouragement, but bad source of professional feedback. So people closest to us become a little harder for that. You may want to consider some of the online assessments, and there are a bunch of tools out there. Many employers are even asking candidates to take assessment tools because they want what they think is an objective way to measure the ability of candidates. There's some behavioral assessments that you can use to predict correct behavior. Caliper profile is one, Myers-Briggs is another. So how you are working in response to professional situations. There are skills assessment as well that you can consider. One is called the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It used to be called Strengths Finders. So it really helps gauge your hard skills. I don't know the costs of these. I'm sure you can go onto their websites to find out. And DISC is a personality assessment. That's another one that you can look at. So you may want to take one of your own assessments to get a little bit more of an objective view, maybe a tool similar to what hiring managers are using. So it may help put you more in line with the way they're viewing their candidates. Also, check out job postings. Job postings will tell you the skills that are hot right now in the positions that you're looking for. You will now have a list of skills, and maybe you'll see some stories, or you can build stories around them. So check out job postings, or get on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, search for people like you. Don't search by name, search for job type and role, and see what types of positions and information come up. Look at postings specifically from organizations and industries of the industries and roles of interest. So that's good for transferring from one industry to another. This will stimulate some possibilities for you, some thoughts and possibilities. So do consider that for that reason. These will also give you a good indication of what you should highlight on your public profile, on your resume. It's basically telling you what's hot now. And so that becomes very relevant to you. Also, revisit your resume, revisit your public profiles. Here are the places where you're telling people about yourself. Here's where people can begin to find out more information about you. So do review your resume and your public profiles and your social media sites, your LinkedIn, job boards, websites, all those things. Right? You want to take a look at that. Update it as you need. You may need to fine tune based on the career assessment, based on your own research of other positions or other people's profiles as you've looked at positions on LinkedIn and other places. Make yours match theirs. You may say, no, I don't want mine to match theirs. I want to stand out. I get that. But think about the way we shop. We shop generally. We look for a bunch of things that meet our criteria. The standout happens when we drill down. So as much as possible, we want to create profiles that are going to be generally similar to other people. Some of the SARs are going to be the standout pieces, but you're going to want to have a lot of the information and content that's going to be relevant in a search. And highlight the skills that are most pertinent to the jobs that you are seeking. It makes a lot of sense. If you're seeking specific jobs, those are the skills that you want to highlight and promote and post, not just in your resume, but online as well. And ask recruiters. They want to find and contact you with as much as possible. So you want the internal and external recruiters to find you based on what they are looking for. And so these are going to be, again, the skills that are going to be found from online and from your public profiles. So as we wrap up, if you don't know what to look for, you really can't find out what's going to stand out, make you stand out from other people. And that's what we started with. So you want to identify the skills that you will bring to the employers. You can do so from recall and list your hard skills and your soft skills, all your professional experiences. You're going to recall what others are going to think about you then and now. And typically these are people that know you in a professional setting. And then what you're going to want to do is begin to update your resume, update your public profiles. So as people are looking for someone like you with the skills that are hot and current, they can hopefully find you a whole lot easier. Okay. So if you're interested in downloading the slide deck, there are a couple of ways. One is I did email it to Merrill a little bit earlier. So if you want to contact Merrill or if she has a means for promoting it, that's perfectly fine. This is my website, Princeton Technology Advisors, or princetontechadvisors.com. You go to the workshops tab and then you click on recently offered programs. And there's a whole list of my programs from this year. This program is right at the top, and you can download a PDF version of this program. So you are welcome to it, certainly. And you're welcome to download any of my programs. Anything that you find helpful, you're welcome to. So princetontechadvisors.com, go to workshops and click recently offered programs.
Okay, so people don't disappear, don't log off. David is here and willing to take questions both on what he spoke about and anything else you might want to throw his way. But before you do, if you go, okay, why is it not entering? 1 second. Okay, there we go. If you look in the chat box right now, there is a link to our evaluation. It is very important that you complete this. We're going to give you 3 minutes now to do this. Without this, we do not get funding. And or more important, without this, I cannot give feedback to the speakers. I go through these with a fine-tooth comb, and then I do give feedback to the speakers so that they can know what they did really well and what things they can improve the next time they do a presentation. So we're going to take 3 minutes. Sharon's going to be our timekeeper. Just either cut and paste or click, however it works. Go and please complete it. Not just check off yes, no, but fill in the answer to the questions, and we'll give you a couple minutes. And if you feel like you don't have enough time to finish it, you can always go back and finish it later. And again, I thank David for helping us create this form 11 months ago, because we used to just send these out by email, and teach me how to go do this so that we can make this an easy process. So go ahead and fill it out and don't go away, because there's still questions to be answered when you're done.
Hi, can I ask a question now?
No, give us 3 minutes because people are going to be filling out the evaluation. I want them to focus on that.
Okay, fine. I put my question in the chat twice already, so I just.
Oh, sorry, we missed it. As soon as we're done filling out the evaluations, unmute yourself and go ask the question.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, Meryl, we're done, everyone?
Okay, so David, maybe you want to unshare the screen so that we can sort of have a conversation here now with you.
Well, here's my contact information. Let me leave this
Okay.
up for just a moment or so.
Okay, no problem.
And let you know, Meryl, one thing I did during the 3 minutes was I Googled how long the song Syncopated Clock runs, and
Okay.
it runs for 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay.
So that's almost enough time.
You gotta write it down.
Yeah, so, but if you could find that. Of course, what you may be finding is people won't fill out the survey. They'll be whistling along with the music.
That's what.
But
All
yeah,
right.
we'll get to Diane's question.
Go ahead, Diane. You had a question to ask that we missed somewhere in this chat box.
Yeah.
Yes, hi, thanks. Okay, so most of the advice that I see out there online about resumes is stating your accomplishments, quantifying results, not so much about specific tasks that you've done at your job. But then when you go and see job postings, you see a lot of that listed. You know, that this is what you're going to be doing, you know, XYZ and all that. So how do you like reconcile that? How do I?
Yeah, so they're not mutually exclusive. The job description is telling you the tasks that they want the candidate to complete. They're not going to tell you a story. They're not going to say, well, the last person who did it this way. You know, they're going to tell you the task. So your resume needs to be reflective of that bullet point, but you need to, in my opinion, you do need to use the accomplishment story to say how you've accomplished the task. Most people are most resumes are more effective when they tell that accomplishment story. So if the task is need to be proficient in Excel, if you simply write a bullet proficient in Excel, it doesn't really explain a lot. Maybe you think you're proficient, maybe other people don't. Are you as proficient as we need? So it's not really answering it. The bullet point like that might be good for the T letter, the cover letter format, the T letter, where you are writing a cover letter to support your resume. And on the left side of the T, it says you require proficient in Excel. I am proficient in Excel with 4 years of experience, or whatever you're going to write. That's fine. But in your resume, you may write a story of utilized Excel to build comprehensive reports, including charts, graphs, and pivot tables, something like that. And now they'll know just how proficient you are. So I'm still in agreement with accomplishment stories.
All right, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Other questions? Ah, okay.
Well, you asked. Yep.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you handle gaps in the resume? I find that most of the companies are willing to hire people with recent experience.
So is the gap current, or is the gap
current?
Current, yeah. So first of all, it's more common now, especially with COVID and the higher unemployment rate, that hiring managers are going to see that a current candidate or several candidates are not currently employed. It's not unusual. So don't be ashamed of it, or don't think that it really sets you at a very big disadvantage. Now, having said that, yeah, there is a little bit of a disadvantage, because hiring managers typically like to hire people who are working. After all, if you're not working, why should I take a chance on you if no one else will? It's a stupid mindset. Mm-hmm. So you then have to tell a story around the gap. And the gap could be, I needed to take time for family, or the gap could be during a prolonged unemployment. But you probably have a little bit of personal time in both of those. Maybe you have taken some training classes or certifications or other things that are professional oriented. And for me, I would talk about those within the gap period. So, I was required to take care of a family member. It was done out of love and preference. But during my personal time, I was able to earn 20 CEU credits in my area of expertise, something like that. Mm-hmm. You have to tell your own story. So that way, it really minimizes the impact of the gap. It does show that you were thinking about your profession, even though first and foremost, you needed to attend to something related to the gap. So it's not unusual, but you should have a little bit of professional stories that you could tell that you've accomplished within the gap period.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Leora asked if you could review again a little bit about the T-style cover letter.
Yeah, I don't have something to show, except if I draw on a piece of paper really quick, which I don't seem to have. So if you speak English, you know what the letter T looks like. Real quick, and I'm not an artist. So there's the letter T. And on the left side, there are some bullet points, and on the right side, there are some bullet points. And on the left side, the bullet points should be something that they're asking for in the job description. And on the right side, the bullet points should be your answers to those, but really very short. So you might have an introductory paragraph at the top, put the bullet points with the answers, and then a thank you paragraph at the bottom. And the reason why is, especially when you think of, we talked about those junior HR people or people that don't understand the position. Those are the people that, they're the gatekeepers. They're the people that you want to show in your resume and in the paperwork that you're providing, that you're worthy of a discussion. And so you're showing them in no uncertain terms, you ask for these 3 things, I do these 3 things. And so that's what it is. If you want a sample, and it'll take me a minute to come up with the URL for it, on the PSG of Mercer County website, we actually have a sample cover letters, including the T-letter format. And I'm trying to talk and search at the same time. So here it is. Here's
Also,
the
we
link.
have examples for anybody who's a client.
Good.
Reach out to Sharon and I. We have examples.
Good.
Yeah.
And I put a link out there for the sample letters that we have on the PSG of Mercer County website. Those are downloadable. They're Word format. So use those. Use the ones that JVS has if you'd like. And you can see it. You can Google T-letter. But it's kind of a good way to say, you asked for this. Here's how I have it. It's not meant to replace an interview, but it's really it allows you to help the uninformed pre-screener to understand that you meet the qualifications.
Let me add something, if you don't mind, to that. I don't know if everyone is aware that the bullet points, the order with which the information are on the bullet points for what the job requires, that's very important. They're done in a certain way. So if you're going to use that T style, make sure that you are answering the first 3 bullet points. So usually the first bullet point is about your education. If that's the case and it's not, and you have the education they're looking for, you can skip that. But after that, the next 3 bullet points should be the ones that you're going to do the comparison to. Does that make sense? Does anyone need clarification?
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. And also, if there are lots and lots of bullet points, don't have a 5-page cover letter with lots and lots of bullet points. It's too much for them to read. I remember when I was job hunting, I once had a job description with 47 bullet points. And the reason why I know it was 47 bullet points, they numbered them, which I thought was ridiculous, not just bullets. Yeah, I like that idea. The top 3. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's their idea. They are looking, if you don't have those top 3, you're probably not going to get an interview anyway. So
Some of you may remember the movie Philadelphia, and a little bit of a sad story. It was Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. Tom Hanks was suffering with AIDS, and he needed Denzel Washington, an attorney, to represent him. And I like the Denzel Washington character. Explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. I'm of the opinion that every hiring manager is a 4-year-old. Now, I know they're all bright and they're good at their job, but they're so busy that their attention span to look at any one resume at out of a pile in a period of time is so limited that you really just have to tell it to them. Don't make them work. Don't make them figure it out. Don't let them try and derive something from something that's in the bottom of your resume. Just tell them to them like they're a 4-year-old. Now, when you get to meet them, whether it's an in-person or a video interview, yeah, then of course you treat them with respect and not as a 4-year-old. But the approach is just make it easy for them to find the information they need and are looking for.
I have a quick question. Sometimes in the job description, it's broken up. So it says the position itself, what's needed, and then the responsibilities, and then maybe if you're accountable for anything, and then your minimum qualifications. Do you have to therefore answer the 3 bullet points in each of those sections? Because, they're asking for different things in each of those.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, my answer also is no, because again, you're going to have the 12-page cover letter, and you can't do that. They're not going to read a cover letter. If they read it at all, that's very long. Most of them will not. You pick either the top 3, or if it's one of each, because you think those are the top 3 important ones from each section, that's probably reasonable as well. You want to make them see you're worth talking to because you at least have the top 3 things that are important.
Right. Also, they want the requirements. That's the most important for them. Not this is what you'll be doing or what the requirements are. They usually, that stands out, but that's a good idea to give 3 from others if you want to add some. But basically, they're looking for the section that says requirements.
Lisa has a question. During an interview, if there's an option to go on video or just on the phone, what do you suggest? I was recently on an interview. She gave me the option to do either. I was on video and she was on phone. It's weird.
Broadly, I'm thinking video, it would be my preference. And a couple of reasons why. It gives them an opportunity to look at you and make a decision for completely stupid reasons why they don't want you. I'll give you an example. There's all sorts of discriminations that are out there, and they're completely wrong. They may not like that you have a mustache, or that I haven't gone for a haircut this 5 months. And if they're going to discriminate against me, I'd rather not leave the house and drive all the way to the place. I want them to discriminate right away. But I also want them to see my facial expressions, that I can connect with them. And I think that there's a lot of value to that as well. So even if anyone has any sort of preconceived notions, or if I have to prove it to them, they can see that I'm paying attention to them, that I'm interested, and it's more than just their interpretation of my voice. So the first part of my answer sounded a bit cynical, but it's something I'm very strong in. If they're going to discriminate us for any reason, they will. Maybe you've got gray hair, maybe you're balding, maybe you've got wrinkles, maybe your smile is upside down instead of right side up. Everybody is different, and we're never going to please everyone. If they're going to discriminate, give them a chance to do it up front. But on the other hand, connect with them in a more personal way.
Okay, no, thank you. That's what I decided. I said to her, what do you prefer? She said, what either way? So I put on the video, and
okay.
She was on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have done the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And if she was on the phone, well, maybe she was calling from her bedroom because of COVID. Who knows?
Right. Okay. Thank you. Good answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions at the moment?
Yeah, and there's no one right way to get a job. There are lots of things that you can do that are good, and there are lots of things that you can do that are not good. So focus on the good things, do the good things. Don't worry about the odd and the wrong ways of getting a job.
I like that. That's really positive.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
David, off-topic question. Somebody wants to know about the baseball bat in the case on the wall behind you.
I get that every once in a while, and I am thinking of building something, like it was behind me, but so that's an A-Rod, or an Alex Rodriguez bat, and I bought it a number of years ago while he was still playing for the Yankees, because he was on his way to 700 home runs, and he was not yet suspended the second time. And then A-Rod got suspended the second time for performance-enhancing drugs. He lost the year. And then, of course, he wound up leaving the Yankees before he could possibly get the 700 home runs. So it's too big for a toothpick. I don't know that there's a whole lot of value to an A-Rod bat any longer, unfortunately. And I just don't have anybody else's bat. And if I take that down, I have to repaint the wall. So I leave it there. The thing that's I find a little bit more interest is the photo above it. So I'm more of a Mets fan than a Yankee fan, and that's a picture of Game 6 from the 1986 World Series, or also known as the Buckner game. And that's Bill Buckner bobbling the ball through his legs, and the Mets end up winning the game. So Buckner and Mookie Wilson signed that one.
You can only see half the picture, but you can see the entire bat, so that's the difference.
Yeah, it's easy to see. So yeah, maybe I'll get myself a screen, but because they do say have a plain background. The blue thing over there, this is half a bedroom too, so you don't get to see the bed and the piece of exercise equipment that's over there.
Anyway, before we open up to see if there are any more questions, and before anyone else drops off, I really just want to thank David tremendously. David was one of our first speakers when we first hopped onto Zoom back in the spring, which I can't believe is almost a year ago. And he's been helpful and volunteering with us, with our clients all year long. All of our speakers do this pro bono. So everybody, a virtual thank you, handshake, clap, whatever you want to do. Thank you, David, so much. And he reached out to us and said, hey guys, I have this new program. How would you like me to present it? And it's been terrific. You hit the ball out of the park. How's that?
Oh, okay, more baseball reference. Yeah.
Good reference.
Thank you.
See, instead, when we're playing music doing evaluations, we should do Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But anyway, and I want to again reiterate to all those of you who are still on the call that at JVS we are here to help you one-on-one, individual, personalized, low cost to really get you through this process and help you land a job. And as I always say at the end of all these, and if you need any more information, I did at the beginning of the chat. For any of you who didn't do it, and it's still not too late, if you want to save the chat, then if you go to the bottom of the chat box, there are 3 little dots. You click on the 3 little dots and you hit save chat, you will have the entire chat pop up on your computer when you're all done, when we log off of this. And then you can go back and see questions and people who posted things and any of the other things. But if anybody has any questions and wants to know anything more about JVS and our services, then just reach out to me, send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And we just want you to all stay healthy and warm until the 50s show up, and spring's almost here. So let's hope that that happens sooner than later. And hopefully before our next program, maybe half of you won't be here because you landed. Sharon, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, just keep plugging away. You're going to get something. Everyone lands. You will land.
So yes, so thank you again, David, and all of you have a great weekend. It is Thursday, right? Have a great weekend, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate seeing everybody again.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mauro. Thank you, Sharon. See you next week.
Thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, David. Nice to see you all again.
Very welcome.
Thanks all of you. Have a great day.